Hello and welcome to this video series on Kompozer. And this is going to be the last of the CSS videos within our Kompozer video series. And in this particular video, we're going to go ahead and decorate our navigation bar, or navigation box as it is. So let's go ahead and get into our software here and get started. Now, as I had mentioned, we're going to be messing around with our navigation box over here and creating styles for the different types of attributes for our links. In other words, we've got one for hovering, where your mouse just is held over a particular link. One for active, where your mouse, or where this particular link is, where the page that this link is directing you to is actively open. And another one where this has already been visited, or where this link has been clicked already. Typically it's blue and underlined. This is kind of the default for most all links, but to signify that, hey people, this here is a link on my page that will send you somewhere else, it's going to be blue and underlined. And what we want to do is we want to change that up a little bit. And also, as far as defaults are concerned, if it's an active link, in other words the page is already open elsewhere because you've already clicked on this link, then it's going to be purple. Also, if this has been a visited link, it too will be purple and again underlined. So we're going to change those three items up a little bit, but I also, in addition to that, wanted to point out a couple other things too. So far in this video series of the CSS of our Kompozer software, we've been able to go to Tools and click on the CSS Editor function here, and clicking on the Painter's Palette, if you will, over here for Cascades, to get to our CSS editor. Another way where we can apply the rules or define CSS elements for our particular parts of our web page is down here at the bottom of your in the status bar, of your web pages. Like for example here, and I don't know if you noticed this before, but say if you were to click on this guy here, it would highlight everything that's in the body. So again, it's another way in which you can see what's available, in this particular HTML tag. And if I click on this, my header, then it tells you, okay, this is your H1 tag, and this is where it's located at. If you were to go to the source tab here, it would kind of give you a trail of sorts as to where this item is located at in your page source. So if you wanted to, you could also provide or add elements. That's probably the wrong lingo, but you can add CSS to a particular item here, what they call inline. So if I were to right click on this, or this, or this, then you can see right here, you can go to inline styles, or if you've already got predefined classes, you can do this. And I believe if that were to be, I don't think I've got that I don't think I've got the highlighting set. I don't believe. I could be wrong. But that one I do have set. So you can see where it took over the P titles information, just as it is down here, where it's blue and it's sent to the left. Likewise here. So I want to get out of that. So we right click on this. Actually, what we can do is just hit the undo, and that'll take us back to where we were. But as you can see down here, it's already assigned the highlighting and P titles to the H1 tag, and we don't really want that. So let's hit undo again, and we're back to where we were. Okay, so anyway, that's another way in which you can apply CSS to a particular item in, as you can see here, on your web pages. So that being said, let's go ahead and open up our CSS editor and start to working on our navigation link. Now we want to create a new element or new style, but and another thing too, if we go down here to custom, we can add multiples elements down here, or multiple types or classes, just by putting a comma and a space between them. For example, if I wanted to have similar attributes for the H1 and the H2 tag, say for example I wanted them all to be red and I wanted them all to be centered, but I wanted different I didn't want the H2 to be capitalized, but I did want this one to be capitalized. Well, for the similar items, we can put them all on the same line, grouping them together basically, and again just by simply putting a comma and a space between them. And then we can create the style rule, and this would work in tandem or along with the other rules that we had applied here individually. So again, that's just one other thing you can do. And what else? What else? What else? What else? Oh yeah. Now we had typed in, as we've been doing so far, the H1 or the H2 or the body. Well, if you hit this drop down arrow over here, for example, if we're under the elements of type, then it will show us those that are available that are predefined for us, basically. Well, they're not predefined, but they're already in here. So if you want the heading, if you want attributes to be added to the heading or the H1 tag, just click on that and create style rule. Now then, if we want to work with types of class or elements of class, again it puts the dot in there, but we hit this drop down arrow, and these are ones that we've already created. But they're with the thing about the class is that you name this yourself. It just has to start with the letter. It can't start with another dot because there's already one there. But here, for example, if you were to combine them, you would have the software Kompozer adds the first dot for you. But for any additional classes after this one, you put the dot and then say P titles and then a comma and then a space. You then have to put the dot for the next one. It won't put the dot in there for anything after the first class you define here. So that being said, let's go ahead and let's go with the custom rule. And I'm going to go to a link. So this is going to tell us that these are the attributes I want to add to something that is a link. This one, again, as I'd mentioned earlier, would be attributes added to those that we've already opened up that link. And this is where our mouse is just hovering, that's the word hover, over that particular link. And this is the attributes we're going to be adding to those links that have already been visited but are no longer active. In other words, we've closed the page out. So let's start here. Create style rule, and let me see. Again, remember they're blue and they're underlined. So we want to, let me move this over here so we can kind of see as we go along here. We're going to predefine them. Arial, you see how it already changed. And the font size, the font size is fine. The color, however, let's change things up a bit here. We want to go green. How's that going to look? Actually, that didn't change anything, did it? I don't know if that's going to work for us. It doesn't seem to be wanting to work for us. I'm not really sure what happened, but it is working now. Let's change this again just to see. Yep, okay. I guess I just didn't hit the OK button. Anyway, so that's kind of ugly, so we don't want that. Let's go back to, we can do black. No, let's not do black because that blends in with the rest of the text here. Let's make this stand out. That's pretty nasty looking. So let's make it a little bit heavier. And case, let's make it uppercase. I'm sorry, I can't stand that color. That's just gross. Okay, let's go here. That looks okay. And notice here too, we took out the underline by clicking on none. And let's go ahead and leave that as that for now. I don't know why I keep doing that. I keep closing it up. Now then we want to add another custom rule to where our link is just hovering over, or where our mouse is just hovering over a link. And let's just to show you, I mean, this is stuff that you probably normally would not do, but just to emphasize the abilities of CSS on our pages here. Let's see if this will work for us. And I'll go with overline and underline. Let's hit OK. Yep, there you go. As we put our mouse over it, it takes on those attributes. So that's just to give you an idea. Let's open it up once again here. That's just to give you an idea on additional links under the custom style rule. And again, you don't have to go with what's here. You can always type in your own, and you can group them together by putting a comma and a space between them. And let me see. By all means, I encourage you to get in here and play around with this too. These are just the basics that we're going over. I mean, it would take an entire video series all on its own just to cover the aspects of CSS. So again, I can't beat a dead horse enough, although I probably already have. This is just a powerful attribute or a powerful part of Kompozer that makes Kompozer that much better. Again, it's free. It's not cheap. I just want to send that message home that this is an awesome set of tools you get with a free HTML editor such as the likes of Kompozer. Now then, we've got this pretty well done. Now this is an internal style sheet. One thing I want to point out is that this is just on our index page here. We still have these other 3 pages here that are not using these particular style sheets. Okay. Matter of fact, this one has a different header or a different H1 tag altogether. So what we want to do now is we want to make our entire website, these are individual pages of our website, we want to make our entire website using these same exact attributes for these particular elements. So how are we going to do that? Well, let's go ahead and point something out here under our source code. And I've mentioned this already. Above the closing head tag, we have these styles that we've already assigned to these different elements. And that's starting with the opening style tag rather, and the ending with the closing style tag. But this is embedded. This is inside of, or as it is mentioned, an internal style sheet. We want to make this a linked style sheet. So that way we're going to be getting rid of all of this code in here and pretty much making this a page in and of itself. And after I do this, I'll explain a little bit further. But as you can see here, like for example, the navigation bar and this, and let's go ahead and, oh yeah, and these down here for our body text and the P titles class. Let's go ahead and make these applicable to the other pages. So how are we going to do that? Well, here's what we can do. We go back to our CSS editor, and currently they're internal style sheets. What we want to do is we want to make them external. And right here, export style sheet and switch to exported version. It's that simple, folks. Now, and another thing too, we will be covering, if you hit the drop down arrow just to the right of the palette here, go to the linked style sheet. We'll be using that here in a second to apply this exported style sheet to the other pages. So just bear with me. Anyway, click on this, and it's going to ask us for a name. So let's go ahead and name it something, and you can name it anything you want, so long as it ends with .css. So let's name this one, typically you'll see them like style or main, but we're going to go off the chart here, .css. And we are putting it in the folder that the rest of our pages are in. Again, it just makes it that much easier. You can, however, apply this as a full URL or an absolute URL. It's just that I don't think that Kompozer or the Cascades part of Kompozer does that. I'm not positive, but don't hold me to that. I haven't messed around with that part yet. But anyway, we're not going to mess with that just yet. That's a little beyond the scope of these videos. So we have now named this. It's no longer named internal because it is now external. Click on OK. And see, our links are still working, but let's check out our source code. And it's no longer there because it has been changed to this right here. And it's now the href, which means it's a link and it's referring to our external style sheet named George.css that is in our HTML goodies file. Let's open that up real quick. And right here it is. That's our new file that we added. And you see it looks a little funky there with a little grinder wheel there. That just tells you that it's not an HTML or PHP, but it's in fact a cascading style sheet document. Way cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and link our other pages to this one. Right here, you see, bada bing, bada boom. Let's go ahead and open up our CSS and hit the arrow here, which is, again, just to the right of the palette. Go to linked style sheet, and it wants to know where we're at, or what's the URL to the style sheet we want to link to. Go to choose file, and you just double click on that, create style sheet, and it should be working. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. Boom, 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 boom. See? Oh yeah, and you got to save it too, because anytime that we make a change and you see this little red box up here, that means you got to save your work. Cool, huh? Okay, let's save it. And now let's do the same thing to our other pages here, as you can see. And even the header here is different. So let's make sure that that works as well. So we go into, and again, I'm going back and forth here just to emphasize the fact that you can do this either way. Go to Tools, CS, whoops. I don't want to, I'm not sure if I did that right or not. Because validate HTML is something that's pretty, oh yeah, and you can also do this markup cleaner, which we're not going to get into just yet. But by all means, play around with it. You're not going to break nothing. Okay, and this is our internal style sheets. Now what I probably want to do is, since I want everything the same, I want to go ahead and nix this guy. So just highlight it and hit this X here to delete it. And you see the red box there. To save this, because there's no save function here, you just click OK. Unfortunately, it closes it out, unfortunately, but as you can see, the red box is gone, so that is saved. Now that we want to import or link style sheet as we did in the prior pages, create style sheet, cool, we're good, we're good. Okay, now it took on the attributes here, but here it did not. You know what? Because I'll bet that our style sheet here is not, let's check that out real quick, because I want to make sure this is, as you can see in these here, capping our first letter of each of these words. And that may not be the case on that particular element. Let's go back here to our editor. And under here, you just click on the H1. Yep, see, it just makes it bolder. Let us add to that. And this should, I'm not positive, but by changing it here, it might also change it for the other pages too. I'm not sure about that, but we'll just find out. Case, capitalize. Okay, well, it worked there. And these are all the same, so no harm, no foul. Anyway, it worked for us here. Click on Save. And let's go ahead and make the change here as well. And tables, no, tables, I want CSS editor. One up here, and I'm sure you guys have pretty well got it all figured out by now. How you can export an internal style sheet and how you can link external style sheets to your page, just as we've done here on 4 different occasions. So we should all be good to go. Okay, well, this is how you can mess with custom attributes for your tags, as we did with our navigation bar, and as how you can export your internal style sheet just by giving it a name, any name, as long as it ends with .css, as well as how you can import or link your pages to those external style sheets. And that's pretty much it. And now then, as far as this website is concerned, all you have to do, as we've created everything all organized and such inside of this particular folder, our HTML goodies folder. All we have to do is upload this folder. Of course, you can name it anything you want, but everything we need to maintain these links is contained inside this folder. Upload this, and if you wanted to use this particular CSS on any other website or page outside of this, all you would have to do is on the let's open this back up here. On the source code of that particular page, just using this as an example, all you have to do right here where it has the href equals, just make this the absolute URL. In this case, it would be HTTP // the colon, all that stuff, www.yourdomain.com/george.css, and it would work just the same as this does here. You would have the same style sheets, the same attributes as you do here, even if that website is totally different than this one here. It's a totally different domain, totally different server, everything, because you're using that external absolute URL. So that's pretty much it, folks. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you learned a lot on how to utilize the built-in awesome tool, Cascades. There's a lot more to it than what we've gone over, but hopefully we've whetted your appetite to the point where you would feel comfortable in diving into it yourself and doing more exploration on your own. Thank you again for watching this video. Have a great day.